Hi everyone, Keith here from the Street Soccer Foundation. On this month's Street Soccer United podcast, I sit down with Bayo Igho of Bigho Coaching. What a fantastic guy Bayo is. There's all manner of things we talked about in the interview. We first of all dive straight in on the back of the Euros and obviously the aftermath of us unfortunately missing out on the final on penalties. 3 young lads who got such abuse online. We then touched upon the fact that he dropped, as he called it, a bombshell really early on into the discussion, and you can hear what that is. We then go on to talk about the value of education, and then he kind of had a crossroads about whether he's going to be a doctor or a lawyer. We also went on to then his own descriptive measure around coaching and mentoring, the difference between the two and how both those kind of roles can support individuals, and in both a kind of professional and personal context. Then I asked him kind of what success looks like for him, and he gave his own definition around that subject and gave a view towards what his plans are for the immediate future. It's a great conversation, and I really hope you enjoy it. Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Street Soccer United podcast. I'm Keith Mabbott. I'm the founder and CEO of the Street Soccer Foundation. I can't stop smiling because I look who I've got with me today, Bayo. Bayo Igho is the director of Bigho Coaching. He's a massively brilliant supporter of the Street Soccer Foundation. He's the head of our club membership. And what does this man not do and excel at? But it's a real pleasure to have you on the show, Bayo. I'm really looking forward to having a good chat with you. But I've kind of sort of briefly given you an introduction to you straight away, but if you don't mind, just sort of, introducing yourself to those that will come across this podcast.
Okay, so first and foremost, my company Bigho Coaching is probably 3.5 years. Came about really after 30 odd years working in social housing. That's my background. Before that, did a bit of law. But what am I into? I'm into people, definitely. I'm into performance, definitely. But I'm equally into equality. I don't think we're all equal, but we should all be treated equal. And the only way to do that is by giving opportunities. Now, that wasn't practice. That was just based on a really good conversation I've been having all this week about what does equality mean, what does inclusion mean, what does diversity mean. And in the world we live in, and recent things that have happened over the last, God knows how many 100 years, it's about opportunity. So now I'm going to be asked a question by Keith about why am I involved with the Street Soccer Foundation? Because they are giving opportunities to people who may not have those opportunities to excel. And we can all excel. It's just that some people have the opportunities to excel more readily than others. And so therefore it becomes unequal. And what Street Soccer Foundation is trying to do is say, look, we know a lot of people. We have a lot of partners. We have a lot of collaborations. We have skill sets, but we want to help you who didn't have that to then have it and see what you can do with it later. So SSF is about opening doors. I, as a coach and a mentor, like to open the doors of the minds of the people that I work with so that they can go on and do the best they can in the moment.
And that's the interview over. I hope you enjoyed the podcast, guys. I mean, I wasn't meant to ask you now. I mean, it's an amazing introduction. But no, I mean, there's one thing. I mean, you've mentioned equality there, and this is now you're going to throw my format completely out the window, Bayo, which I knew would probably happen anyway with you. But I hope you don't mind me addressing this with you because I think it's really appropriate because it's still kind of there or thereabouts, on people's tongues, as it were. And on the back of the Euros, mate, you probably know what's coming, but like on the back of the Euros, so we'll get into the interview and we'll go back to your past and your upbringing and stuff, if you don't mind, and it'll be nice to get to know you as an individual. But just your quick comment, well, might not be quick, but your comment on your personal view that I really would value, because I've not actually even had the chance to speak to you about this. So, one opportunity on the podcast that on the back of the Euros and the incredible effort that the boys did, in there, the England lads, but stating the obvious, mate, with the 3 lads that, missed the pens and, the wrath that came their way online. I mean, I know you're a big football man yourself as well, although you're Arsenal. I don't know. So I don't know whether that's it's a paradox in it. I don't know what that means. But no, on a serious, were you? I guess my questions are: were you surprised at the response on the back of what happened? If so, why? If not, why? Kind of thing. And what is your views towards it, and how can it be rectified and stopped, and why do people have such strong opinions like they do? Over to you, mate. I mean, I could there's so many questions within it, but like your general sort of feelings towards what went on and what's going on.
So let's put some context into it. Yeah, I'm of an age. I've been supporting Arsenal. My first Arsenal manager that I can really remember is Terry Neal. So I remember the 70 Charlie George. I was a kid, obviously, but that resonated with me. Arsenal resonated with me even more so during the 80s and 90s because of their multicultural look at football in terms of their players and stuff. I've been a season ticket holder for 30 years, but I'm not naive not to know that there are elements with every club that aren't good. And it's not football, it's a microcosm of society. It's not just football. As you know, I went to school in Battersea. My best mates at school at that time, and still some of my good mates, were Chelsea supporters. The first football club, stadium I went to was Chelsea. But Chelsea, when I was there at 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, was not a place for me, hand on heart, to say I was going to be a football supporter. Fast forward to today. The last time I generally went out my way to support England as a football team was probably 1990. I loved it, the whole banter, the whole buzz. I was into my football. I'd seen the 1982 World Cup with Brazil and co, the 78 before that with Kempes. So football was just buzzing, and we were there. We were in the semi-final with Bob Robson and a manic football team. Then I can't remember how old I was then, so I don't say how old I am now. But, you know, you get older and then you start to think that actually the life that you lead, the geopolitics and all of that, and everything that surrounded football for me got nasty, got tainted. It just got, you know, don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed watching football, but I just couldn't see myself supporting that type of England where there was a underbelly of nastiness, and that underbelly kept on going through. So what happened in the World Cup? Was I surprised? No. Was I shocked? No. Did I think about it yet? Me and my son's 9 years age, and go, oh my God, Dad, look, he's going to miss. He's going to miss. That's no, he's not. He's going to miss. But my missus was saying afterwards, was he saying he's going to miss, thinking about the ramifications of the miss, or was he just saying he's going to miss because he felt the run-up was poor, etc.? And that was a good question. And I put it to him, and he said, yeah, because I was scared of what's going to happen next. And I goes, what do you mean I was scared? Well, you know, Dad, it's all la, 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 la. The bottom line is we were not surprised. But let's put it into context. It was not the whole of England that were anti the last 3 penalty takers. It was not the whole of football who were anti 3 penalty. It's a small minority, but that small minority does have a big vocal voice. You've asked a question, can it be rectified? Football has done a lot. It's doing a lot, but it can do a lot more. But it cannot be done on its own. These people go to work, go to school, have mothers and fathers, have kids, have brothers and sisters, have uncles and aunts. So it's societal's problem. And until we call it out, and I'm guilty of it, and I'm going to say it and I share it with some of my friends, until I became senior manager, I didn't call it out in the workplace because I was afraid of my position. But then I said, take a running jump, mate. You are now a role model and you're leading others. You've got to call it out. And by calling it out, I took some punches, I took some knocks, I got kicked out a few jobs, definitely. But at least I had my held up high and to say, no, that was bang out of order. Can't say that to tell people. You can't think of that like that. Or let's have a discussion as to why you think that way. Then the buzzwords are equality, diversity, inclusion, loads of rafts of policies and legislation. But the bottom line is this: we, those who know more and know better, need to call it out. Otherwise, those who don't know better will continue to do what they do. And it's based on ignorance. It's based on not knowing really what the score is. Of course, there are some people that are bang out of order. But you know what, as my old man used to say, better the devil you know than the devil you don't. So if he's going to come to you and say F, 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 or blah, 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 you know the score. But if he's going to be subtle about it, he or she, then that's more difficult. The only way you're going to deal with the subtle people by calling them out. So that's my political broadcast over.
And when I asked the question, I thought it could get that way, but no, yeah, I can't disagree with anything you said there, mate. And I think, you know, and I guess the only thing to add in the context of where a lot of it came from on social media, I think that there's obviously been a few bits of commentary around, you know, what these guys can do in terms of these platforms. And I think the thing that stands out for me, you know, is that kind of, you know, the link to knowing exactly who these people are, you know, so that it's not
call it out.
Exactly.
When I say call it out across the board, these organizations, it's about the moolah, it's about money.
Yeah.
They called it out for Trump because he was losing their money. Because he was coming to a point where what he was saying was OTT, and they felt it was losing money. So if these people who own these platforms start to realize that there's a number of people who don't like what's being said, and they might move away from the platform, that will lose their money. In a workplace, for example, you're not going to pick the best because they're the best, regardless of what they look like, think, or talk like. You're going to potentially lose money. So you've got to call it out. You know, it's not just for Joe Bloggs who's in a stadium and he hears his mate saying something and he calls that person out. It's for society to sit back and say to itself, is that right? Is that wrong? Let's educate ourselves about why and how it is we think the way we think. And you know what, Keith? It's two sides of the coin as well. It's not just one-way traffic. There needs to be education both at all levels about how, why, where we've got to, and how, why, where we want to go to.
Yeah, no, it's really, really valid points, Bayo. I mean, you've touched on there sort of society and education. How, if you don't mind me kind of bringing you back a little bit to your upbringing, and how did that kind of treat you as a youngster growing up, you know, in terms of your own education? Were you engaged with education? Were you good at school? Did you find it difficult, challenging? Society in general, you know, how did you find that around you in where you were brought up with your family unit? You know, do you mind me sort of touching upon that and giving a brief context about where you sort of started and how it kind of, you know, formed the foundation of you as an individual?
And I'm going to drop a bomb, and I'm comfortable about dropping this bomb in most recent times. So bottom line, my mother and father, 64, 66, came to this country respectively. I was born in 68. They're from Nigeria, via France and Germany, and they made a life for themselves. My old man never went uni, probably just about went school, as with my mother. But one thing they made very clear for me and my two sisters, siblings, education, education, education. Long before Cameron jumped on that bandwagon, he felt that, listen, son, in order to get on in this world, you've got to be educated. And he did mean formal education, but he also meant, you know, read a book, understand what's going on, read the newspapers, ask questions, get out about, go and have a laugh with all the kids on the street, go and have a laugh with all the kids playing football, cricket, educate yourself, because what I know is not enough. And we took that on board. We are Catholic, so we went to Catholic schools, predominantly white male Catholic schools, I can name them all. Before that, I went to a couple of schools. I was born and bred in Brixton, but went to schools in there, went to schools in Clapham, went to schools in Battersea, and I went to a pretty good school, Salesian College, the Order of St. Don Bosco, grammar when I started, and so Keith Joseph, and what's her name? Margaret Thatcher, decided to kill off all the sixth forms in those schools. But it was a good school. It was disciplined. You know, it was a good school. I did well. I was a pretty bright lad. I was also the lad. Lived through 3 riots. Why do I mention that? Because that's the surrounding I was within. So there's temptations left, right, and centre, this and the other. The bombshell, though, is this. I basically lived on my own between 11 and 18. 79, my mother and father decided they would go back to Nigeria, set up shop. And I went over and I said, look, it's not for me, I'm coming back. And they said, all right, fair enough, you're mature. We brought you up well. You're going to live in our family home with your uncle and aunts. That's another story. But essentially, I did all that knowing that the discipline that my mother and father instilled in me would make me get on. And I got on until the 5th year when a schoolmate, and I won't mention his name, grasped me up to the Spanish teacher and said, this geezer has been living on his Jack Jones, signing all his letters, signing all his report cards, and you've done nothing about it. What are you going to do about it? Up to the place, social services called in, blah, blah, blah. They said the school had a choice. He's either going to go and get his 10 O levels, or you're going to be taken off into a care, and then we're going to toss a coin to see whether he makes it or not. And within 24 hours, my father was in the country anyway. That was normally the rule. And they just said, okay, you crack on, but do not leave him alone. So I left school with my 10 O-levels, went off to do my A-levels. Now, the important things about education is it's important, it makes sense, but in 2021/22, it doesn't have to be academic. It can be vocational. It can be a combination of the above. I went for the whole academic thing. I wouldn't say I was a nerd, but I did love studying and I did it well. But actually, when you reflect on the O-levels you've got, the A-levels you've got, the first degree, you've got the second degree, you've got this certification, that certification, where has it actually brought you in life per se? What is your success in life? What's your measure? What's your purpose? What's your why? Those are the questions I ask myself and I ask the people around me. And most definitely that's what I ask my kids, my 3 sons who are completely different types of people, who one would definitely kill it at university if he went. One will probably smash it if he went to university, but the other will probably think, nah, too much. Not for me. Right. I'm a free spirit. There's no way you're going to shackle me. And there's combinations of the above. But what we don't do necessarily is give them that freedom. Went on earlier about opportunity. Maybe we'd want to give them that freedom, but some families just don't have the opportunity to give them that freedom. So to answer your question, yeah, education to me is so powerful, unbelievably so.
Yeah.
And the easiest way to be educated for me was to read books and to read newspapers and go to libraries. But in 2022, you've got the internet, you've got social media, you've got all those other things you quickly gain information from. And that's what I cherish, is just to start to read. And then obviously the next best thing was travel, get out there.
Yeah.
You know, when I went uni, I met some people that, oh my giddy Aunt George, where did that come from? That was off like a TV upstairs. And do you know what I mean? Upstairs and downstairs. I went to a geezer's 21st birthday and the dining table was longer than my house. Do you know what I mean? The dining table was just like, woo. It was like I had 40 kids around the table. I was just like, wow. Took half a mile to drive to his front door. And I thought, you know, this is different. This is TV stuff. Yeah. But at least I got that experience. And then I came away thinking differently. And hopefully they came away thinking differently about us who was invited to that party. So travel's made a big impression on my life. Fortunate enough to have grown up during the early days of Ryanair and EasyJet. So you just popped on, went over, saw a city, give it the big and had a laugh, had a large, and then you just thought, yeah, culturally, that was different to London.
Yeah.
And I hope I've answered the question, mate. It's about education. It's about getting out there and being part of it. That's what I see it as anyway. If you've been given the opportunity.
I actually love, well, and that's that last word. That's like that last word. Exactly what I want to hone in on. So with that being kind of given context, and you know your passion towards that, and you know the value of education. How did you kind of create your own first opportunity, Bayo? You know, when it came to kind of leaving the educational system, what happened next for you? Did you naturally fall into a role? Did you find it tough to get a job, or did you create your own job, or how did it start for you?
There's all of that. My old man wanted me to be a doctor. Yeah,
right.
Nigerian. I'm going to be a doctor, my friend. That's what you're going to be. I'm going to study chemistry, physics, biology, and maths. Really, Dad? Of course you are. So I did chemistry, physics, maths, and biology. I got 2 U's. A U in physics, a U in chemistry. I've got a B in maths and probably a C in A-levels. So I said, Dad, ain't happening, is it? And he goes, no, you're no good. What are you going to do? I goes, let me be a lawyer. Gift of the gab, pretty smart. I love an argument. Let me be a lawyer. So I did the humanities at a college in Wandsworth, South Thames College. But the problem with that was this. I did the A-levels, but I didn't really understand where I wanted to go. I just thought I'd be a lawyer. And the lawyer was what I watched on TV, Petrocelli or the High Court. It was just programs. There was no mentors. There was no guiding light. There was no one to sort of say, okay, you're going to do these A-levels, and you need to go to this university, and you need to study this. I just did it on a whim. So I ended up going to Middlesex Poly just because my mates were going there. I didn't know about red brick universities, you know, top universities you can go to. And I was good enough to go to them. So I got to Middlesex, brilliant. Love it, great mates, still talk to them now. But when I was there, my lecturers were saying, mate, love you being there, but you need to be going to you need to be going somewhere else, fella. I was like, where? You know, go King's College, go LSE, go Bristol, go Durham. I goes, all right, I'm leaving London. So I got into LSE to do an MA in law, corporate and commercial law. But then I started to apply for jobs, thinking I am the DB, I can get in these places. Alan and Overy, Clifford Chance, Freshfields, la 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 la. Went to the interview. No, 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 no. And the reason I was getting no's is you're good, you're academic, smart, but you're raw. You're not molded. You just didn't understand the ins and outs of being a lawyer at this firm right now at this moment in time. So we're talking 89, 90. You know, that was a big smash in their face in terms of confidence and ability and all of that malarkey. And so I just ended up writing letters to every law centre in London. And I'll mention her name, bless her cotton socks. This is over 30 years ago. Beverly Brown looked at my CV and my application and said, come on board. So I was at Hammersmith and Fulham Law Centre as a volunteer, then a locum, then a trustee, then an honorary trustee. And that was brilliant. But I still didn't become a lawyer. It just didn't happen. I just didn't get my articles to become a lawyer. And while I was in the law centre, I was doing a lot of stuff around housing. That's a great segue into SSF and homelessness. And I was saying to the lawyers around, why are we always fighting the local authority? Why don't we work with them? Why don't they just sit on our page? We tell them what to do. We know the score. They don't know nothing. And they laughed. They thought, oh, here he goes. Another one of those people who thinks he can turn the world around. So I said, I'm going to apply for jobs in local authorities. I'm going to change it from within. And I did. I applied for jobs. Got a job at Lambeth, where I was born and bred. I worked there from 1991 probably to 2006. Man and boy, everything you could do within housing. Housing officer, housing assistant, team leader, contract manager, area manager, district manager, blah, blah, blah. But one time I was there, and I won't mention his name, he said, while I'm here, boy, you will never be a senior person. You will never be a senior manager. And that was one of the first moments in my life where someone of power said, no, you're not moving forward. We're not going to give you that opportunity. So I promptly left. Did a few stints, interim work at a few housing associations, learned a lot. I definitely learned a lot from Richmond Housing Partnership and the chief executive there, David Doan. My first introduction to coaching, mentoring properly, and that planted the seed to where I am now in terms of in my last place of work. It just didn't happen for me for 101 reasons, primarily my fault. Again, imposter syndrome, again, opportunities being made and not being kept, my own insecurities, my own wish to be better than probably where I was, but why not? Why couldn't I be a chief executive? Why couldn't I be an executive director? But it didn't happen. And this is another bombshell. I've done 3 confidentiality agreements in my time. You have to beg your question, why? If you're being asked to sign a confidentiality agreement, it says that you're probably not wanted in this space. And I had to sit back and say to myself, you know what, Bay, you've done a good innings, but it's not the space for you. And I'd never set up my own business. My mother did, my father did, one of my sister has. So I thought, you know what, let me see if I can set up my own business, but do something I want to do about what I'm passionate about, what's about my purpose, it's about my why. And that's when I went into coaching and mentoring. And boy, was a timing so great. You know what I mean? So my business is 3.5 years, been smashed up by the pandemic, blah, blah, blah. You know what? It's me. It's my why. It's my purpose. The business I'm growing. It's what I want to do because I'm good at getting people from A to B. I know about people, I think. I know about performance, and I know a bit about business. And those credentials all add up to an acronym called opportunity. It doesn't, but that's my buzzword at the moment, opportunity.
Yeah.
Coaching, mentoring, working with some charities such as Street Soccer Foundation, being part of small businesses, like the Federation of Small Businesses, being part of other charitable organizations where I mentor and support young people is about me giving opportunities. And I'll give you a little analogy or a story, an anecdote really. One of my mentors used to say to me, the problem we have in this world is people knock on a door, the door might get opened, they go in and they enjoy it. But invariably, they leave the door closed. So that other people like themselves who want to come in aren't given the opportunity to come in. What we need to do is once we're in that door, we're in that house or in that party, in that gig, and we're having fun, and we know others might want to join us, ask the person who opened the door for you if it's all right for you to open the door for them. That's how we create opportunity.
Yeah, I love that, Bayo. I love that. With all of what you said there, a question that stands out for me, which no doubt will cause some debate and certainly people's opinions being driven with it. Have you got a clear distinction for yourself in terms of how you weigh up the difference between coaching and mentoring? Like,
Oh yeah, definitely.
What is a coach versus what is a mentor, and are they the same? Is it the same, or how do they vary?
They're not the same. So there's a continuum that a lot of people use around the support or support world. There's directive, engagement, and non-directive. A pure coach, a coach is non-directive. He or she does not tell you what to do. He or she doesn't give you necessary prescriptive things on what to do. What they try to do is elicit from you your own thinking, your own thoughts, by engaging with you, empowering you, by putting really hard, challenging questions to help you on your journey. Now that can be watered down, that can be added to in various ways. The other side of the spectrum is called the directive engagement. So your consultant, your advisor, he or she tells you what to do. So you engage them and say, I want you to turn my business into 20% increased turnover. They go off and do it for you, or they directly advise you on how to do it, per se. The coach will support you necessarily by drilling down how, where, when, what for type questions for you to do it yourself, because you do it yourself. The mentor, for me, is someone who sits in the middle. What he or she would do, and this is how I would mentor, is based on my knowledge and experience to support you on your journey. So Keith Mabbott wants to turn Street Soccer Foundation into a worldwide global charity. Great. So how are you going to do that? What are you going to do that with? Who's going to support you? And then you'll say to me, or I'll say to you, in my experience, when I try to do something like that, this is what I did, this is what happened to me. So I might be able to give you some advice and give you some direction. But for me as a mentor, it would come from me, but I'll then ask you, who else in your network, Keith, could you go to seek support, some advice? So for me, the coach is hands-on, but doesn't actually put it into your lap, but give it to you. They're more of a shadow, and a very close shadow, who checks and challenges your direction of travel.
Yeah.
Whereas mentor is a shadow, but now and again might put on your table their personal experience and advice about your direction of travel.
It makes a lot of sense. And just considering what you've said there, would you recommend? Do you feel it beneficial to anyone to have a coach and a mentor, or one or the other? And the second question, for both personal and business. So whether they run their own business or they work for someone, or putting professional life to one side and they're just their social kind of living, is it useful, beneficial to have both of those roles in support for both sides of your life, Bayo? What would you say?
I was going to give you a colloquial all day, fella, all day. But let's caveat that. Depends on who you are, where you are, and what you're doing. When I was at school, probably at college, definitely at uni, a mentor would have been amazing.
Yeah.
That person would have been able to say to me, wow, this is your journey. This is what you're looking at. Well, you think about when I was going for law firms, he or she would have said, Freshfields, Allen and Overy, what about the High Street? Why not start there? Or there's nothing wrong with wanting to go there. But if I was to go to Allen and Overy, let me think and find someone who works at Allen and Overy who can support you on your journey, to prepare you for the interview, to prepare you for the selection process, to prepare you for what it would look like. That's what a mentor could do for me. You got to remember as well, mentors and coach. So a mentor would be a real good fit for young people on their onward journey. When you start to go to the place of work, primarily, because coaching can be a bit expensive, but it shouldn't be. There are a number of coaches and coaching organizations that can help you at a fraction of the cost. But in terms of a coaching engagement, that really is about, you know where you are, but you want to be better than that. But sometimes you have a basket of things that hold you back.
Yeah.
Some of the expressions are limiting belief, imposter syndrome, you procrastinate, you diver, you hold yourself back. A good coach can help you manage those and take you to the next level. Could you do with both? It depends on what you're like. If you can handle the cerebral engagement of a coach who's not going to do it for you, then go for it. But if you need someone who's going to tell you off from time to time and reposition and redirect you from time to time, then a mentor can be that person. And it doesn't have to be a formal engagement.
Yeah.
As you know, when we talk, we're both mentoring each other, not necessarily knowing it. But
Yeah.
you know, you will say something, I will say something, and we'll go, oh, whoa, hold on, mate. Have you thought about this, that, and the other? So and there are titles, actually, but depending on where you are, I suspect I would definitely move. Look at your program, look at your program, look at the SSF program. The mentors are on board to support that young person on their journey.
Yeah.
Primarily through the teaching that they're given, but equally from the experience and knowledge that they've had in their lives. Yeah, and that's really important. A coach will probably not be great for these young people at this moment in time as they find themselves, but once they find themselves and they want to then better themselves at each stage, then the coach can come on board alongside a mentor. Does it work in a personal life? Definitely, of course it does. You know, you're into sport, you know, Keith. You didn't get better at football by just doing it on your Jack Jones.
Yeah, exactly.
No chance.
Yeah, exactly.
No chance. Your coaches showed you a few things. The players around you showed you a few things, and both could have showed you good and bad things, by the way. But you then picked it up as a player.
Yeah.
And you picked it up as a chairman, as chief executive of a business, of a charity. You pick these up. So your coaching, your mentor could be formal engagements, but you know what? To be honest, there are a lot of informal coaching and mentoring going on. We might not pick up on it. But I think they are crucial to people's development. And most importantly, they're the keys to the doors that aren't often open. They're the keys to the opportunities that SSF gives these young homeless people, and that we, who are in the same boat, will do for others. And that's what I do my coaching and mentoring for. Give a key to a door to get them in, and hopefully they let others in too. And that's when we get on the same high table, and that's when we start talking about equality.
Oh, but this is amazing. I mean, so what you've just said there as well. I mean, one thing you touched upon right at the beginning in terms of a real passion of yours, and what you look to unlock. I guess sometimes it's often a kind of question that you might pose your clients, but I'm going to now ask you the question. Is wrapped within what you've just described there, and the purpose and benefit of both those kinds of roles. Success ultimately, you know, people want to be successful. Yeah, see, I've got you because I saw that smile. So but people want to be successful, and you know, they want to sort of feel it. They want to tell people that they're successful, or have people see them be successful, whatever that means. And I guess that's the question. I mean, what for you, Bayo, because you coach so many individuals, you know, you're exceptional at what you do. You've got a real history for what you draw on from. But what is success to you? How do you personally define it, and how do you strive to achieve it?
I'm going to read you a thing. I'm going to read you a piece. I've shared it on our various WhatsApp links. Satisfied life is better than a successful life, because our success is often measured by others, but our satisfaction is measured by our soul, mind, and our heart. So, answer your question. When I first failed my A-levels, I went into my local pub with my best mates, who are still my best mates now, Michael Kearns, Paul Soniolu, Eddie Hummerwood, Tim Kenoy. Oh my God, I failed my A-levels, boys. Oh shit, it's the life, the world's all over. Now, these 3-4 geezers were not academic. They weren't going on that path at all. They just looked at me and said, "You're having a laugh, mate. Crack on, do it again next year." I did, and I got him. I told you this about the story. I got to go uni. Went to uni, got a good 2-1. Weren't great enough. Go to another uni to get a master's. Weren't good enough. Go to another uni to get a master's. Weren't good enough. Got a fellow in this. Got qualified. I mean, my name is long, but I don't put no letters behind it because it's too long. How much more do you want to knock on the door of success? Is it my success? Is it your success? Of course, I'd like to live a good life. I've got 3 young boys. I've got a missus to look after. Yeah, important. Do I want the Lamborghini I wanted when I was 15, 16, 17? What's the difference? Do I want and why not? If I can, go for it. But my success is my measurements. Okay? So today, I'm not where I want to be, but I have a goal, I have a desire, and I will get there. When I get there, fair play to me, I'll celebrate it. But what I'm saying to people is, yeah, of course you've got success, turn that word success into a goal or an aspiration or an objective. Once you've achieved it, then you celebrate. Say, crack on, next one, please.
Yeah.
Reflect on what you've done and how you've done it, then crack on the next one, please. But don't sit there just thinking, I've got to get this, I've got to get that, because that's what he's got or she's got, or what society expects me to get. It don't work like that, because invariably you don't get it.
Yeah.
And then invariably you start winding yourself up, getting frustrated and anxious that I'm not as good as X, Y, and Z. Don't get me wrong, I do that sometimes. I still do it. Where I'm thinking, sugar, I was on 6 figures 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm not now. Oh my God, the world is falling down on me. And it does sometimes. But then you pull yourself up and say, whoa, whoa, whoa. What am I actually trying to do here? Where do I want to go here? What's my goal? Boom, go and do it.
Yeah, love that. And where is that for you, Bayo? Like kind of coming towards the end of our chat today. I mean, like past, present, future is typically the format what we try and achieve on this podcast show. You've touched upon it there. So success is part way of looking ahead for the future and what you want to go after in terms of goals and ambition. What is it for you, mate? Like, what is in your kind of short-term game plan? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to sort of get to, and how are you going to make it happen?
So when I started this business, the idea was to have a coaching business, now coaching and mentoring practice, where I've got numbers in my head of successful clients going on to do their own thing. They've met with me or people that I know, and they've gone on to do their own thing. Classic example, had a client, started a card business. She wants to put her cards in Clinton's, in Thornton's, and in some of the high streets. She's getting there. Wow, brilliant. That's great for me. For my children, what do you want to do in your life, boys? I like to support them to do that. For me, get the mortgage paid, probably. That's a number one starter. Sort her out. She's happy. She wants to set up her own business probably in 2 or 3 years. I'll be her first coach. That'll be a great success. Bob's your uncle. And then what else? I've got some thought leadership ideas, write a book or 2, probably, have a podcast, probably, but they're all down the line. Right now, I want this business to be able to support the family as I was way back when. That's a starter. I want my sisters to continue to be happy. Their kids, my nephews and my nieces, to continue to be happy. It sounds a bit wishy-washy, so let's just go to the bone. I want to just be doing what I'm doing to the best of my ability and not bother what everybody else is saying about it. Because at the end of the day, I couldn't give a flying monkeys. That's success to me.
What a way to conclude that. I mean, but I love that. And do you know what, that sometimes is the best way of doing it. You just get on with what you want to do and let other people watch on. And everyone's always going to have an opinion, Bayo, aren't they? Whether it's good or bad, critical or not. But if it's true to you and your values and your own ambition, then that's what matters. And I think you've touched upon it before about having a purpose statement and a passion. And I'm really grateful in that regard. That's how we've sort of come about knowing each other and got such an aligned vision and view towards what we do whenever we talk together, typically around the foundations work, but sometimes on occasions, independent of that. But fundamentally, as we're so keen on that kind of why statement, knowing what we're doing, why we're doing it, and what gets us out of bed each morning. And we'll run the ups and downs. Of course, there's challenges along the way, and we'll have good days and bad days, as they call it. But challenges certainly that come along with whatever you do. Whether it's personal, professional, charity, business, whatever. I think certainly through the pandemic, we've seen that, haven't we? That it's challenged a lot of people in lots of different ways. And I think the resilience that we can show together, both individually as well, independently, it comes from a real true sense of belief in your own ability, but also that vision that you've got, where you want to get to and how you're going to get to it. And the final comment I'll say, and what you've touched upon earlier as well, is I know you're a big believer of this, is education is absolutely important. But you touched upon saying about caveats and that, but education for knowledge isn't no way near as strong and valuable as education for execution. And simply, by meaning of that is that you learn to then execute on that learning. And that's what we do, as both me and you as individuals, but also the work of the foundation. And when we're coaching the young people that we have the privilege to meet, that's what we're trying to instill in them. You come to the academy program to learn and kick on with that learning, not just to be kind of learning for knowledge and then do nothing with it. So All power to you, mate. I mean, honestly, on behalf of the foundation, I'm really, really grateful for your involvement, Bayo, honestly, mate. And you're a privilege to have around, and your support is fantastic. And I know we've got some very exciting stuff in the lead up in the immediate short term, which is going to be really, really good. But it's been brilliant talking to you, mate. It really has. I wish you every success with your coaching company, and obviously the support that you give the foundation on the side is truly valued. Guys, if anyone wants to get in touch with Bayo, what's the best way of getting in touch with you? Your contact details that you have to share.
So LinkedIn's the easiest place to find me. Bayo, Bayo, and then Ighoh. I'm on all the socials. Basically, is at Bigho Coaching, and there's a website at Bigho Coaching. So yeah, it's all there. And obviously, Perfect. If you're a club member, you'll see me on the WhatsApp groups and at the SSF Zoom calls, second Tuesdays of each month. Do not be late. It's 8 till 9 a.m. It's amazing. Everyone's there.
That. Thank you so much, mate. I mean, this is about you, and I told you that at the very beginning. But no, it's very kind of you. But yeah, no, we'll drop your socials, mate, on this once this goes live. We'll drop this on our YouTube channel as always. But Bayo, thank you so much for your time this morning. It's been a real great catch up with you, and some great insight that you've offered there, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. That's been the Street Soccer United podcast for this month with Bayo Igho of Bigho Coaching. As I say, anyone wants to get in touch with Bayo about sort of coaching, mentoring, please do get in touch with him. He's absolutely superb. If anybody wants to know about the club membership, obviously, and what Bayo heads up for us, again, get involved, get in touch, and learn about all the benefits on offer. But for now, Bayo, thank you so much, mate. Really look after yourself and love to your family. And we'll catch up again soon.
Cheers, fella. See you soon. Cheers, Keith. Much appreciated. Bye.